I think we should be live now. I'll get a link and yeah.
Topo.
Yeah.
Sambono is a good brand name.
Oh yeah? Yeah, we're live now. So yeah, let me send you the link. So you can share that one. I think I can share it too. Okay. So we can use this first minute to just warm up. Right. It's not that I used to go share on like Twitter. Well, the app would tweet it for me. So I sent you the link, the Facebook live.
Okay, I've seen the link.
Yeah, you see that's the live. So as we're chatting, people can watch. These are online, but it's on the page. You can watch it later.
Alright.
So just say live now. Wait. Chat.
Música, muchacho.
Share.
Yeah, Tina will take a Grammy one day, I believe.
Let her keep pushing. She's very dynamic.
Yeah.
So I see we have some views. Oh wow, shout out to those that are there. If you like, you can put your name so we do shout outs. So I will keep looking one-sided because I have a screen that I use for like the control center.
Like 3 screens.
Yeah, I have many screens, man. I love screens. I have screens everywhere.
As a whole studio.
Yeah, technically. So yeah, Aboupreneur. I think we can start. So welcome to this. I give you like synopsis of what Topo is. We're just chatting, right? Sharing ideas, sharing stories. I think I met you online on the Bitcoin. I would say chat that we had this past Saturday. I think. Yeah, and we did lightning and the rest, and then we had to follow up the chat. So I guess you have to drive this actually because you wanted to really chat. So you probably know what you want to talk about.
Basically, I haven't come across someone who explains the blockchain as easy as you do, and coming from understanding people on my own standpoint, I guess you have this wide view of how things work or how the world works. Yes, I haven't known you for long, or I've just known you for a while, but then I get to understand people. I think I have that in me. Yeah, at times I get gullible and I get into some bad hands, but then I don't want other people to know that I have the psychic of a bad egg too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I just take it as it is and move positively. So basically, I understood the blockchain from a standpoint that was very basic, like and the way you articulate everything, explaining how money works and all that.
Right.
And then I've watched a lot of videos about cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Especially from Michael Saylor.
Yeah, that's my
talking about,
man. I love to listen to it.
James Song? They
Jimmy
talk
Song,
about
yeah.
the dollar losing its value yearly. Those are the tier one currencies. That's the dollar, the pound, and the euro.
Yeah,
then the
right.
tier two currencies losing their value. Then there's this video of Michael Saylor where he always talks about Africa. He emphasizes, what about someone in Africa? What about some in the video? I was like, why is he always talking about Africa? He didn't grow up in Africa.
Yeah.
But there's something this guy understands that we don't understand,
Yeah, right.
that we need to understand.
Yeah.
So basically, I've been a fan or an adopter of cryptocurrency since 2017 or 18 or so.
Oh, wow.
I've been keeping and using. But at least I'm familiar because at some point, if I didn't get cryptocurrency, I wouldn't have the little that I have, or the knowledge,
Yeah,
or maybe even dealing
the freedom.
with the
Yeah,
of
yeah,
cryptocurrency.
yeah. I
You know,
get
the
it.
ups and downs. I always tell people, because I'm an SEO guy.
Oh wow,
I am
interesting.
SEO,
Okay.
and you know, SEO deals a lot with your emotions, because
Mm-hmm.
they deal with the analytics and all that.
Yeah.
And cryptocurrency is the same way,
Okay.
and so is a relationship. Dealing with these three things is is the same thing. That's what I tell people
Yeah. Right.
from my own standpoint, because they deal with your emotions and your psychology. Like Joe Dispenza always says, heart and brain coherence. You need to keep that in. So it's about the brain and the heart all the time. So that's how
Mashallah.
I see uh, the whole of these things in a broader aspect.
Yeah. Right.
But
I see.
then Lightning Network, I did some research on it, but I didn't have time to follow up on the website. But I
Okay.
will. I
All
will.
right.
Tabs are open on my computer. I'll go
Mashallah.
on it.
It is
But I watched
lightning. Yeah,
some
lightning is
video.
wonderful. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
So broke it down, broke me the
Oh,
Lightning Network
lightning.
down.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we can start with microcellular, and then we'll connect it to lightning.
All
So
right.
normally the financial systems we have, and in the broader sense, the technological systems we have pretty much define the separate the world into like developed and developing, right? Like the banking system in America will make it a developed country compared to the banking system in Cameroon that will make it like a developing country. You see, so that's the importance and essence of things like finance and technology in a broader sense. So, but even in those developed countries, what they face with the advanced systems they have do not really give the liberty that humans can achieve. Because when you have systems where people can control the the parameters, it means it's like you said, emotions and the brain. It means that the entire system is to the weights of the emotions and the brains.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why laws can come sometimes the generations after you be like, what was that? Like slavery was once
Yeah,
legal. Yeah.
exactly.
So now things like that you can take them and give them to the computer. That's trust, for example, instead of leaving it on the hands of in the hands of humans who may be governed by emotions, power, and things like that. Especially when a government via government, then
Mm-hmm.
uh, things will fail, and history shows that. So, but you can take that and teach it to the computer and leave it as a just a
Mm-hmm.
protocol to follow. So when
Mm-hmm.
you do that, you've actually taken weight off the humans. The same way that we use cows and tools for work is to offload that extra work.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do that too for things like trust, right? A human being
Yeah.
who has to like work a farm will do it slower than an ox. That's why they started using oxen at a certain time. And then when they
Mm-hmm.
discovered machines, they will use a tractor. Then you see, so they evolve. So
Mm-hmm.
that can happen too for trust. So we can offload it from humans in the same way that we offloaded
Machine.
farming. Yes, and give the computer. So when you do that, you have like a trustless system, and it has many advantages. Like for Bitcoin, that is trustless, and then it has a token, which is or it has like a this asset bearer token. It's like a cash bearer asset. So you can,
Mm-hmm.
and since the middleman is taken away, and then it's very divisible, it means you can
Mm-hmm.
talk about any kind of transaction you want, even at the smallest part, because you can break one Bitcoin into 100 million pieces.
Yeah.
So you can split it and capture even transactions that cost per second. Like
Yeah.
yeah, so you cannot pay for a per second thing with franc CFA unless 1 second is 100 or 1 second is 1 franc. Then if you have to be
Yeah.
fair, that have to be like 0.00001 franc. That cannot
Yeah.
happen now. Yeah. So uh now if you give entrepreneurs such a system, then they can be connected to the rest of the world. and they can sell, they can trade, they can even build on top of it. So I think that's one reason why Michael Saylor is always talking about Africa.
Yeah. I mean, so sorry.
Oh, no worries.
My laptop was
Yeah, no
low.
worries. Yeah, so you see the power that I think the camera went again.
I turned it off. Laptop was low, so I had to charge it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you see that with such a system, it's like you can then it's open. You don't need like anyone's permission, and then it's not controlled by anyone, so the rules cannot change. Most of our currencies, as they're printing more, the
Value
the
drop.
value is dropping as the total supply is expanding. So, which means you can't predict. Like you cannot be now and you say you want to build your house in 5 years and you know how things will be. So you cannot do economic calculation using foresight because the money will lose its value. So it
That's
will
true.
not be what it is. So you cannot really know how much it will be. You cannot
Yeah.
since like for Bitcoin, you can track the supply of Bitcoin at every time. Like you can know the number of Bitcoin that will exist in like 2,100.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? Or like if you have to do 2,100, we're now 2022. So if you want to know the supply, you can do the math and it's predictable like that. And that's how money is supposed to be. So if you give that tool to the rest of the world and Africa, then people will be able to use this open network to store their own value and then to build on top of it. And that's freedom, you see. Yeah. So that's that generally. It's for the whole world, not just Africa, but that's what it can bring to Africa. So
Yeah, we
then,
actually need
yeah, it's right there. It's there. It's just people just need to,
to embrace.
yeah, it's like the internet. When the internet started, I think we had the post office and cinema halls. Then now you have Netflix and then you have a
Everybody
email.
streams these days.
Yes. So that's the same thing that Bitcoin is starting. When it
That's
came,
true.
we did not really start the revolution. So now
That's true.
Bitcoin is starting. We should just jump on it and start and
For real.
learn it. Yeah.
For real.
Just to learn it, it educates you. In the same way that just people have learned how to type because of the internet. People have learned how to write because of the internet. People have
I mean,
learned all kinds of things.
just the phone. Like 20 years ago, my father bought a Philips phone, and there's this picture of him, and the Philips phone was just on his neck with a rope. But 25 years later, before then, let's say 10 years later, we are using Motorola V3, Sony Ericsson with Java,
Yeah.
and then the memory card came. We downloaded music in the memory card. Apps
Yeah.
came.
Yeah,
Then
exactly.
whole Android revolution,
Yeah.
and here we are.
Yeah, and so that's it even in this space. So so that asset, everyone in the entire world using it, they're making transactions, and every 10 minutes the system will like update itself with the latest batch of transactions, which is a block, right? So it's like it audits itself every 10 minutes. If you check all the banks, they can't do that. You check all the banks in the world. When was the last time they audited gold to make sure that the supply of gold matches the value it's given? Or like to know how it is. Like,
It's
yeah.
not possible.
Yeah, but this one every 10 minutes it does that.
Yeah,
So
there's a
yeah, and people think it's slow, but the same people can wait to cash a check for 3 days. Can you imagine? It's funny, right?
say
They
it's
say
fast.
10 minutes is slow, but they can wait for 3 days to cash a check. So, but that aside, Lightning now comes to bridge that gap between the 10 minutes, so we can do instant. Because which means if I pay you, I have to wait 10 minutes, right, for it to be confirmed on the blockchain or settled. So if I'm buying coffee, then I can just, I have to, will I wait? What if it's in the morning and I'm in a hurry? So we want to be able to do instant payment, instant settlement. So, and again, Bitcoin is digital cash, so it's something that you can carry around. If you have EcoBank or whatever bank wallet, you cannot take that money. Like, it's just numbers. So when you pay someone, they just debit, credit. The cash is not digital. You see, so it's not an asset that you can hold, and that's why they can just delete it if a database goes by. Your account balance changes, and it's easy to steal. So but since Bitcoin is cash, it means that we don't need to go to a bank before we settle every transaction. You can pay someone cash under the bridge, and it's instant.
I mean, it makes money available to you at any given moment in time.
Yes.
You keep Bitcoins. All you need to do is contact a merchant and say, all right, I have X amount of Bitcoins for sale. What's your rate? How much are you going to give me? And you make your money available in mobile money in minutes. In minutes. You don't need to leave and go to the bank, deposit, or the ATM took your card. Oh, there's no network. I mean,
yeah, but the people that don't want to, that's, if I have to send you Bitcoin, regular Bitcoin, like now, it will take like 10 minutes for it to confirm, right, on the blockchain that has been made. So now, what if I want to pay you instantly, like now? That's the problem Lightning solves. So it creates it's an overlay on top of Bitcoin. That's a layer 2. You see, so Bitcoin is a foundation that gives you money, some pure pristine cash that settles every 10 minutes, and then which means you can create economic activities on top of it. In the regular banking system, I think for Visa, it takes like 180 days, because these banks, what they do is, even like you have different systems, Western Union, MoneyGram, they have different accounts. They're just debiting and crediting each other. And then after a while, you'll actually move the money or move the value. You see, so that used to take like 180 days. Or
so you think it's instantaneous, but it takes time?
Yeah, that's just because they have that trust between them to debit and credit. It's like, I owe you now, I go. You see what I mean? So then they have a period.
Yes, they do the balancing, and finally the person who has the money takes the money then.
Yes, and then the government regulates that process to make sure that everything is in check. So that takes time. The Bitcoin does that 10 minutes every day, every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, it does the thing that it takes hundreds of days to do it. And
the money actually leaves. That's the
yes, exactly. Exactly. So if you want to do instant, just like those guys are making you believe, you can do actual instant. So that's where Lightning comes.
On the layer 2.
Yes.
So I have this question.
Yeah.
The layer 1, right? If I'm to understand what a layer 1 is, the layer 1 solution of Bitcoin is a network, right?
Yes, the Bitcoin network is a suite. Yes, even layer 2 has its network. Lightning has a network. So a network is just people that are connected, right? So when you're connected on Bitcoin, you're on the Bitcoin network, right?
Okay, I want to ask this question.
Yeah.
If Bitcoin is a layer 1, can you refer to Ethereum as a layer 1 as well?
Yes, so that will be Ethereum's layer 1. So that's where you have it's like the foundation. That's where it starts. You see, so Bitcoin starts on the Bitcoin blockchain. That's where new Bitcoin are made. That's where like all the Bitcoin in existence are registered and moved around.
On the layer 1.
Yes, and then it gives you some basic functionalities. It allows you to write a program to adjust spending. and receiving, right? And then it comes with some of those programs, those scripts by default. Like when I send you Bitcoin, it's a script that I'm executing, but that comes with Bitcoin. Since it's decentralized, it means there's no central person controlling it, and it's open. It means you can take it and use that language and script your own contracts and transaction types that you want. You see, so people now have created, using that language, a way of making Bitcoin instant, and that's Lightning. You see, you would have made it. I would have made it, and then if people adopt it to it, becomes bigger, and then all of us use it. So Lightning, you can think of Lightning like Cash App or PayPal. Yes, that they are on top of like the banking system. So the banks, the checks, they take time to go right around, and or for you to do international payments from Cameroon to America, wire transfer takes some time. But with the PayPal account, the overlaid is a layer on top of that banking system that you can credit and send people money instantly. PayPal will do the settlement. Yeah. So that's what Lightning is on top of Bitcoin. So if you and I are to use Lightning, we start by, that's a Lightning to start its own layer. So it allows us to create an address, right? An address is just what stores Bitcoin, right? That two of us need to sign before we take money out, right? So now we put money in there, but we can update how we split it. So it's like a shared wheel, right? If you and I open a Lightning channel, it means that two of us have connected through an address, and we have put money in that address, like in Jangi, right? That we can be updating it. So if I put 1 Bitcoin and you put 1 Bitcoin, and I want to pay you 0.5 Bitcoin, we just update it. That I now own 0.5 and you own 1.5.
So the smart contract is updatable.
Not the smart contract, the transaction record. Yeah, so it keeps, so the smart contract is the logic, right? But it will use data. So the data it uses is the transactions that we have finalized. So when we started, I can say I send a transaction to that address that at 1 Bitcoin. So it means I can take it back. The smart contract is programmed that way. You send 1 Bitcoin, you can take it back. Now, if you want to pay me, you pay me like 0.5, right? So you create a new transaction that pays me 0.5, and that pays you 0.5 back because you had 1. So it means now my balance now will be 1.5, yours will be 0.5, right? So if I have to pay you back, I can do that. So you see, we're just creating a new transaction that overrides the previous one. It's like just updating a sub ledger between just you and I, right? So now if you want to take that money out of that contract, you are free to take it. The blockchain will accept the last transaction we did. You see, which means the last thing we did, because that's what you want to settle after that. So then you can cash it out on Bitcoin. So it's like someone taking a check, right? And then imagine we can be updating the check, right? Like I can now say, it was $1,000, and then you two had a check of $1,000, and then you update it to 500. Me, I get the one for 1.5. So when we go to the bank, we can cash it using the last checks that we created, which are those transactions. So that's the basic of Lightning, and then you can start chaining those channels. So if another person has a channel with you, and I want to send the money, I don't have a channel with them, but I have with you, and you have with them. So I can pay you and you pay them. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I watched a video on YouTube, and he actually explained that, where the guy was explaining something, and he said, you send, let's say there's a restaurant owner. I don't know if I can explain it.
Oh yeah, please go on. Yeah,
but
please go on.
There's a restaurant owner, and then you had the contract with the restaurant owner, to pay him something like that, to give him money, and then he has to pay his workers, something like that. but then you're not paying his workers, right? You're paying him,
Mm-hmm.
and
It's just like a
I don't know.
routing.
I
I
have
get
some
it.
images.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. That part is actually the routing, right? And you can think of it in terms of banks because remember, a Bitcoin wallet is like a bank because it can
Yeah.
generate almost an infinite number of addresses. So it gives you like your own central bank. So you can store your money in it and make transfers to people who also have their own banks. You see what I
All
mean?
right.
So we can substitute it for banks. So you can think of a channel as BSEC having an account with Citibank, right? Or EcoBank.
Mm-hmm.
So, but those since Bitcoin is as powerful, it gives you the user your own bank. You can it's equivalent to that. So imagine BSEC having an account to EcoBank, such that when BSEC customers want to pay to EcoBank customers these bank transfers, they just update their balance. So
Mm-hmm.
when they started that bond and contract, they started with let's say 1 billion each, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
BSEC has to pay EcoBank like 1 million. They have to update now that the account is less than 1 million, and then
Mm-hmm.
you credit the
Then
account of yeah.
whatever, it's a debit here and there's a credit
Yes.
on the other.
And then in the banking system, I think the central banks and the rest are the ones that settle that interbank movement. So, but for the Bitcoin network, the bank will be a Lightning wallet, right? That you're creating a channel with another guy. So we start with that, the initial money that we bring into that trust, and then
Mm-hmm.
as our customers are exchanging information, but this it will be like two of us as we're paying each other. We're just creating transactions that debit and credit accounts accordingly. Then we go settle on
So,
Bitcoin, and that's it. You can
so
take the money and go.
aside from the transactions, right?
Yeah.
Let's say normally the transactions are being done with coding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aside the transactions, um, what can be built on the layer two?
Oh, a lot of
Apps.
things. Yeah, a lot of things because then, since and that's where you start seeing the power of Bitcoin. For example, since one Bitcoin can be split into 100 million pieces, I could make
Mm-hmm.
login to be a Lightning transaction. So because and remember one thing in the Bitcoin world is privacy. So just like on Facebook, they will take your name, even your number, email. On the blockchain, they don't know who you are. They don't need to know. It's just the public key that is identifies you, and your private key for authorizing transactions. So now with Lightning, we exchange payments through invoices. If you have to pay me, I create an invoice. So imagine
Mm-hmm.
I have a site where for you to log in, I just put an invoice there, one sat only. So your wallet can
Mm-hmm.
send one sat, and then that's how I can identify that wallet. You see, because when I put the invoice and then you pay, you're actually exposing your public key to me, and you're approving that. So I can use that information to identify you. So I don't need to know where
Mm-hmm.
you are. So we can have apps that have login without a login form, and that's just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you can use it to represent assets. So if I have some Bitcoin transaction that I want to make, there is room to put extra data there. So I can have an asset in a database, but that is encrypted with some key that comes from a certain wallet. But for you to access the actual asset, you have to pay some sats. So it's the normal purchases. So I can purchase like a car, and then the car's document will be transferred to me, and it can be encrypted with information from my Lightning wallet, and that's how I own that asset. So
So the information, like the car documents and all that, can be recorded.
yes, exactly, and encrypted in a way that you can use your wallet and the structures it gives you to access those. Because remember, Bitcoin gives security, so it uses cryptography to secure stuff. So you can use
Mm-hmm.
that as part of your application for security. And then trade, normal trade, you can now write a blog post, and let's say you can be there and you want to there's a beautiful painting behind you. If you were selling that, I could pay you in Lightning, and but you said apart from transactions. So now
Mm-hmm.
this could be an online store. So
Mm-hmm.
you can have some script that, just think of Amazon. So we can also just replace uh, most of the apps that we have in different sectors like entertainment, replace it with Lightning, or put Lightning there for security, finance, like views. You can be paying 1 cent per view. As someone visits the site, you pay the artist. If you're on YouTube or something, visit the site, you pay the artist one sat. Each view is 1 sat. You're just stinging the sats across. You can send them so many times because you're just updating the record, so it's instant. So that's another application. There are just so many applications, man. When I'm thinking of it, where shall we stop? So, see
So
what I mean?
what language is used to build
On Lightning,
on the on the Lightning Network?
you can use. I was actually looking at Rust today because Block, Block, does their own Cash App. They
Mm. Okay,
Block
the company that
owns Cash
Cash
App,
App.
yeah. So they have a framework that is built in Rust. So I was looking at Rust, but the experiments I did with Lightning, I used TypeScript. So it's like Node.js, but I used TypeScript to connect to Lightning, and then I had access to the node, so I could start writing code to do whatever. I used TypeScript um, on Node.js, and then I tried a tutorial in a Golang, like Golang, but I had issues, so I was in a hurry, so I went back to TypeScript. So, but you can use TypeScript. You can use almost any language, if you know how to do it, because it comes with something called RPC, remote procedure calls. So you can, so it's like a remote control to the Lightning node or the Bitcoin node. So you can have a program in any language that uses RPC, but that sends the commands to Bitcoin, gets the results,
What
and then
about Python?
yes, even Python. Python has
So
libraries.
can code. You can use Python.
Yes, because at the end of the day, right? You said you do SEO, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have that web application, most times it sends requests to a server.
Mm-hmm.
So the server is identified, just like you have an address, the server is identified by an IP address, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the application sits on ports. Ports are like apartment numbers or doors that are inside of a house. So if a house has an address and the different rooms have numbers, you can call those numbers ports. So you can have a building that is door number 1 that is a restaurant, and then there's door number 2 that is where these ladies gonna make their nails, where guys go spend money. The saloon, it's saloon, yeah.
Yeah.
So with your web server, you have the address, you have the ports. The port could be pointing to your actual application or to another application. You see, so Bitcoin is a server like that. The server running Bitcoin will have its IP, and then the different places to receive requests on Bitcoin will be on ports. So you can connect to it with Python, and you send it to the right port, give it the right credentials to give you back data. So that's how you can use Bitcoin. So you can now have your front end application that has a button that when you click, it generates a Lightning invoice. So it's a send a request to the Lightning server, to that port, say that give me an invoice for this item, and it's generated and give you take it and display on the screen. So then you can use JavaScript, HTML, CSS, but you could have used Python as the handler that receives the request, sends it to Bitcoin, gets the results, and gives you back.
So basically, I have this question. For you to let's say to run a successful project, let me just say a project on the layer 2
Yeah,
solution,
yeah.
do you necessarily need just one programming language or multiple programming languages? That's, let's say you need an expert on Node.js, you need an expert on Python, you need someone who masters CSS and maybe another language. Do you need
Yeah.
like multiple programmers, or one person can do that with one programming language?
Both cases are possible. So, but in the computing space, we're only limited by our imagination. It's not like the physical world where, like, if you're building a bridge, it can only be this heavy because of gravity and other
Yeah, I mean
things.
that's the
Yeah.
blockage we have
Yeah, in the
as
physical world.
non-coders.
Yeah, but in the computing world is the imagination. So you can do it however way. But what
And
people go
anything
for,
possible.
yes, but what people go for is feasibility. Like feasibility and, oh, I've
How
seen these
feasible
pictures.
it is.
Yeah, feasibility and uh, efficiency. Like you can fry puff puff, and there's someone who fry it in 1 minute, and maybe it even tastes better than the person taking 10 hours. So better go for the 1 minute guy. That's why it's a good way to do something.
Of
So
course.
yeah, and that depends again on you. So there are cases where one person, if you have the skill for the whole team, you can build all of them. Like if you're like a full stack developer, and
Mm-hmm.
that but it's hard to use just one language because um, there are sometimes different systems involved. Like the HTML, if you're doing a web app, you need HTML for the structure of the
Mm-hmm.
page, how it looks or what it has, and then you need CSS for how it looks, like makeup, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
you need JavaScript to bring those things to life. Like when they click on
Mm-hmm.
a button, you want to show an error on the fly or do some
Mm-hmm.
animation, hide this. The HTML and CSS are not that dynamic. So JavaScript, or they're not procedural. So JavaScript is procedural. You can describe those processes. And then since it's not the server, you need to process the request. So you need to send that to the Bitcoin server, right? So you may have
Mm-hmm.
Python or JavaScript again with Node.js or Golang or any language that will receive the request and then interface with Bitcoin and then get the result, send it back to the front end. So you have front end and back end. If you're doing a mobile app, um, you could have a framework that gives you one language that will describe several aspects, but when you want to start customizing it, you need to go to a special language again. You see, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it's either mixed or, but if you have a good team, you're good to go. If you're alone and you have the skill, fine. Again, it comes to
The team is,
feasibility.
the team
Yeah,
is far more better. I mean,
yeah,
the dynamics and all that,
yeah.
it makes everything works. The flow is better. So I have this question again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let me skip. Let me go to Umbrel, right?
Yeah,
Umbrel. Let's say you have. I actually read the their was it their white paper or
yeah,
maybe their
fine.
description what
Again, it comes to
Umbrella is
feasibility.
Umbrella is all about. So if you have an umbrella, if you buy the device,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
and you install it in your house,
Mm-hmm.
let's understand the part of the privacy. But
Mm-hmm.
then, can you use the device to make money for yourself?
Oh yes. So many ways. One way is to build an app. So with your umbrella, there are many ways actually. So imagine you are on is it Shopify, or let's say you sell teacups, right, or t-shirts or paintings. You can have a shop that uh your payments, people would have paid with Momo, right, or they would have paid with Strike US dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Be a music site, like now in Cameroon music is hot, where people can
Mm-hmm.
buy your song. So you can generate a lightning invoice in that process, but the invoice is coming from your laptop or from a wallet that is sitting at home. So the payment is
Mm-hmm.
coming directly into your
Into your wallet.
wallet in your house. So you can sit there in Cameroon, and then when you build the site, you set up your server. There are ways to configure it with information from your node that is sitting there in Cameroon, and
Mm-hmm.
it will be generating invoices on behalf of that node, right? Or you could have it in
Mm-hmm.
the cloud, but you have the private keys. That's why Bitcoin gives power to people through your private keys. So all the payments will be sent directly to you and not to a bank that will have to cut their own percentage and then even later change their rules and say, okay, let's say you make 1 billion. right?
Mm-hmm.
So they will come up with something. You don't have that 1 billion. You see what I mean? So but if it's in your
Exactly.
own, yeah, they'll come up with something. You'll be shocked.
So it's like
That
you having your own hot
mhm.
wallet.
Yeah, so the money can go there
Oh, cold,
directly. Yeah. Mhm.
cold wallet rather.
Yeah. So the well, it's hard because it's like life, right? So cold wallet is
Uh-huh.
just the one that it can be cold, but it's not cold because cold is just like some vault that you
Yeah,
yeah, uh-huh. So but
it's
that one,
actually it's connected.
yes, exactly. So this one will be there receiving the, if you're a
It's a
restaurant,
secure
yeah,
hot wallet.
yes.
Let's
If you're
say
a
that.
restaurant, if you're a restaurant and people were paying, you could actually have your lightning node in the restaurant that is receiving the payments. You see, or if you're a point of sale at the bakery, so you see what
Mm-hmm.
lightning like, because people pay you is settled instantly. So like they've given you cash, so that you don't need a third party to process those transactions for you.
Okay, see if you're to build an app now, are
Mhm,
you building on the Umbrella framework, or
mhm.
are you building on another framework and connecting on Umbrella?
So it depends. You can build on another framework and connect to Umbrella, and you can build on Umbrella directly. So Umbrella has an app store, right? That has several apps, and then it has a way of people submitting their own apps. Like you submit to the Apple Developer Store, but for Umbrella, it's free so far. So you can build your
Yeah, I
app.
thought that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the app store, they have a couple of apps like
Yes.
for uploading your I mean the privacy of you uploading your pictures, and you
No,
know
no,
that
it's not
I'm
a.
the only business.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying because when you upload the picture, hope you know it's only you that can see it, unless you build the app in a way that others on the network can see it.
And
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. The privacy. I mean, you enjoy the privacy
very
of
much.
knowing that it's not with Apple, it's not with Google, and it's there,
It's
and you
you.
can't lose it.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
yours.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
I,
so
I
that's
almost
that.
bought the
Yeah, sorry, go on.
I almost bought the umbrella, the device.
If you can't buy it, or you can build it yourself, you can get
Yeah.
a Raspberry Pi, or you can install it on if you have a Linux machine, or there's some setup. I think they could do Docker. There's a way you can get that set up. Yeah, that's you can
So
just
when
install it on your system.
So if you do install it on your system, and then let's say the system crashes and
Hmm.
the hard drive gets bad, what about your data?
Well, uh, you lose your data. So if you are operating the node and you have important information, you normally need to back it up. So you lose your data, but in terms of like your balances and based on the wallet you use, you have your private key, right? So if it's Bitcoin, you will not lose that because if you keep your private key safe, that's why they ask you to keep it. When you get a new system, you put the private key, it's gonna regenerate your assets. That's because the blockchain is like a juju house now. That everyone has this plot, everyone has this thing there, and if I want to transfer to you, I just say, okay, this is my plot on this spot. The juju house goes to Aboubakar. So then
Mhm.
we approve that cryptographically. So but I have the private keys. So anytime I get a new phone, I can connect back to that Juju house. So the Bitcoin is not stored
That
on your phone.
in as much as you don't lose your private keys, you're
Yes,
safe.
you have access to it. So that data, that Bitcoin, that's why you can save in Bitcoin, leave it for 100 years, and even hand down the keys to your descendants. And that's why
Mm.
they call it generational wealth. People cannot take it from you. So you can be handing over the keys, and that's how you can prepare for your kids' future, the
Mhm.
next generation, and the rest with cryptography. So that's another plus to help Africa.
So basically, I mean, the Lightning Network is just for people who are interested is overwhelming, yeah.
It is.
And for the fact that you know that you don't want to miss in the future, it's a challenge.
Yeah,
It's a
right.
challenge you have to take on. basically. So on the lightning, if I understand well, on the lightning network, you can build, it interacts with other cryptocurrencies as well.
If yeah, so again, this computing world is an imagination world because you tell what you're thinking to the computer and it does it. So you can build anything that you want on it. So you can use lightning and you could have a Bitcoin, let's say a Binance node or a Kava node or an Ethereum node, and you could have a program that transfers between them, and then you can connect it to Lightning and see that when payment enters this address, transfer Ethereum to here, and so you can program anything. You see what I mean?
Anything.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's just imagine, like you said, it's here. So if you think of it, it's a process. So the systems give you languages to describe processes or contracts. So you can now connect them and do those based on this. It's not as simple as I say it. It's not something that can be done in a day. It could be a project
Yeah.
that takes 2 years or 5 years,
Yeah.
but it's possible. With the right team, it could come. It could be smaller.
The concept of nodes is, I don't really get it, because okay, let's say
Oh, our time is up.
because
Yeah.
like on
Sorry, go.
Umbra, I read about confirming nodes.
Mhm.
So what does it really mean by confirming? Like if you're confirming the node, you get paid, or is it the same? I don't know.
Did you hear routing node or confirming node? It could be like something else, but a node is just a server, right? Like when you're running the Lightning software, you're running a Lightning server that it connects to the Lightning network, can exchange information with other Lightning servers, right? So they call it a node because it's if you there's this thing they call a graph now, that you have different points and then you can connect them. One point could be
Mhm.
Boya. You can be doing something, you have Boya, and then
Mhm.
um,
Limbe and then
Limbe, yeah.
Douala.
So even if you look at the picture behind you, you see the hands and then you see the threads
Yeah.
that are connecting.
Yeah.
Assume that where the threads touch, those are nodes. So those are like
That's my
different
concept.
points.
That's my concept, by the way.
That is your what?
That's my concept.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. It's interesting. Yeah, so the points that the threads touch, this could be different nodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're points.
Connecting one
Yeah.
point to another.
A node could be a city. So two cities can communicate with each other,
Right.
send letters, trade. They have guaranteed bus running, and you can do the same. So a node is a lightning node, and then those nodes can have many things in between them. It could be applications. It could be yeah.
You see, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I think our time is up. This is a good chat. We can
So,
continue
how,
later.
how long we
Yeah.
took around?
So I actually I forgot to time it and then I realized I forgot, so I started the timer and it went off. But
Oh,
great. I
no,
think we can round up. Is there anything you'd like to say before we close?
um, basically, I'd like to thank you very much for your time,
Thank you too.
and obviously the platform support. Yeah,
Mashallah.
very, very happy talking about what interests me, and we're going to talk about other things. And there's a question. We
Yeah.
talk about only cryptocurrency here or any other thing
We
about
chat.
life.
We've had senators here, musicians. Uh, I have friends that have been here, like Idris Abdul Karim, who sang Nigeria Jaga Jaga. And then we just
So
chat.
basically,
Yeah,
you talk about every
anything.
I like
Yeah.
anytime you want me on board or you want me to listen, just send me the link.
Okay, sure.
Or
I'll
if
do
it's
that.
not private, I'll be willing to jump on.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, thanks. Yeah,
All
that
right.
works. Yeah.